Hello everyone, this is Chase Pounds. I'm actually enjoying my leftover Thanksgiving dinner, turkey, dressing, green beans, mac and cheese. Now, in my previous video from other Sunday, I mentioned the sister ship Britannic. I mentioned that there was another passenger who was who survived the scene. The Britannic was also a survivor of the Titanic. The Titanic. I felt that I wasn't very thorough about this lady. I, as I mentioned before, in my previous video, her name was Vilot Jessip. Her name was Vilot Jessip, and her her she was a she served as a crew member on the Titanic. Well, first on the Olympic in the Titanic, she was a stewardess, and she both and she survived the which wasn't really big tragedy when the Olympic in 1911 ran into a naval ship, the HMS Hawk. Hawk. I think she was in the diner. I think Hawk. I forget where was she was at when the Olympic rammed the when the Olympic rammed the collide with the naval ship, but she was present as a stewardess on board the Olympic. Then on the Titanic, she was also stewardess again. And she got away. I forget she got away in one of the lifeboats. Along with that, she was given a baby, and she was told to look after this baby in the lifeboat. After the Titanic sank, and then when she was rescued by the Carpathia, she took care of this baby. She took care of the baby until I guess the owners of the child, the parents of the child, reclaimed the child, and I'm not sure she was rewarded anything for being a hero, but she would probably consider a hero for saving the child. She as the thing that from that point on, she continued to serve on serve as a crew member, as a stewardess aboard at the White Star Line class liners, and it's supposedly that's because of, I guess, that type for that job, the income was good. This was very income was very good. So more likely continue staying with the job as a stewardess, even though some people would say, why would you continue going on the ship after you face why would someone continue to travel aboard a ship after they face a traumatizing disaster? But yet she continued to continue the ocean travel serve as a continue her duties on ocean travel. Then she was assigned during the outbreak of World War I, when the Britannic was refitted into a hospital, was turned into a troop ship. She served as a nurse, and as I mentioned in my previous video, she survived by jumping off just as her boat was caught by the suction of the propellers, and all was about to be chopped. In a split decision, she decided to jump off the lifeboat into the waters. Yet she was still caught by the suction, but yet she she was pulled under by a fellow, I think a seaman or a sailor perhaps, that helped her aboard. That helped her aboard, I guess, another lifeboat, and she survived with minor scars and bruises that she still has. She still carried into her later years. She continued to serve on Olympic, the final, the only ship locked, the only ship left. Excuse me. The only ship that was left of the Olympic class. And I don't know, I forget when she retired, but in her later years, she, of course, during her retirement, in her later years, she lived. I think she was from Ireland, so I guess she lived her later years in her hometown of Ireland, and it was she would live a normal life, but periodically she would get phone calls. I should say reoccurring phone calls, and one of them turned out to be the person that she saved, the baby that she saved from the Titanic, was all grown up, and she had called to thank her, saying that I was that baby that you saved. She announced that. And yet she thought it was unusual because she never told that story to anyone. And some people, and her husband said it could have been just people playing pranks, but she stuck to it that she had never told no one about that story, suggesting that could have been the person that she had saved the Titanic. Yes, and I think that the Irish Vilot Jessip died in 1971. I forget how old she was. Oh, it was though. But that's the story of Vilot Jessip, and I guess a remarkable tale surviving both the Olympic, the Titanic, and the Britannic. And as I said before, her story was kind of retold in let's just say a fictitious version of her story was told in the film version, made for TV film version, Britannic, which, as I said before, wasn't, in my opinion, a very good film, and was because there was a lot of historical inaccuracies, and the acting wasn't all that good. The special effects weren't that good. It was mostly computerized special effects, and I should say cheap CGI special effects. And the name was changed to Miss Campbell. And I think in the film, her name was Miss Campbell, and she was a lady who would survived the sinking of the Titanic, but lost her husband. Now she's, I guess, reliving the Britannic, and yet she's kind of like a hero in the film, like a spy. But I'm not going to spoil too much about the film if you've never seen it, but I wouldn't recommend watching it. It's not the best film made. Then the only other thing I would like to discuss, and it just happened to be around the holiday, I traditionally tend to watch this documentary, Terror from the Titanic. I had this documentary since I was, actually my grandmother bought it for me when I was 10 years old. Oh, I forget where she bought it from, but I watched it ever since November of 2007. And from that point on, almost is a kind of a tradition leading up to the Thanksgiving holiday, and sometimes on Thanksgiving I watch this documentary every year. Since I'm so familiar with the film, with this documentary, I would say that, I wouldn't, even though I own it, I wouldn't recommend it because it's not really historically accurate. I think this is like for people who don't know anything about the Titanic, who are amateurs about the history of the Titanic. But if you're a real Titanic buff, you would pick up on some of the stuff, mistakes, and historical accuracy in this documentary. Now, on the back of the cover, and this is the back of the cover right here, it says, highlights, it says, Terror on the Titanic reveals the shocking truth behind one of the worst disasters of the millennium. Highlights include never before seen footage, including rare footages of Captain E.J. Smith inspecting the Titanic prior to her main voyage. But if you're not familiar with the Titanic, you probably see many of these footages of Captain Smith on the bridge in his summer uniform. It's, I guess, kind of expecting things, and in which really that was recycled film footage for newsreels that was Titanic's sister ship Olympic. Most of the scenes that they show of the Titanic, of the ship leaving port, is really the Olympic, not the Titanic. Which they don't really show the actual footage of the Titanic, which is like a few seconds long. That's not even in this documentary, shown in this documentary. And they also combine other footages of the Lusitania. Then it also says never seen photos, which many of these photos I've seen before, countless times before. Then it says never before seen interviews, which aren't really interviews of anyone, none of the survivors or experts about, other than like quotes that people said, like a few quotes of what people said. And then it says actual accounts and reenactments, which there really weren't really any reenactments other than like computer graphics, which it does mention in the back, but just like computer effects of the ship sinking. It doesn't even show the ship breaking two, interestingly. Yeah, one thing I also picked up on is the fact that there's like other inaccuracies of this documentary is that they show there's a scene when it talks about the construction of the ship, and then talk about the issue about the lifeboats. Is that they added a couple of inflatable life rafts, but if you're familiar with the Titanic and history, life rafts really in general didn't exist at that time yet. It's not until World War II that you start having inflatable life rafts. They did have collapsible lifeboats,